to the development of our coral reefs here in Florida, not only because they clean off the substrate for the coral to attach itself to, but they also clean off the coral itself so it can continue to grow. So in 1983, 1984, these guys were essentially hit by like a sea urchin plague that took out a large portion of their population, which ultimately affected the staghorn population here in Florida as well. So we got these ones from the Tampa Aquarium, where they managed to successfully breed and spawn them when they were just like itty bitty. So we're trying to do the same thing here as well, breeding and spawning these guys, so eventually we can put them back out into the wild.
Cool.
Moving on to our next two aquariums. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot in here other than like a couple of snails, right? But if you look at this one right here, there are a couple of small little tubes growing on top of it.
Yeah.
That is actually going to be the first stage of a coral's life, known as a polyp, P-Y-L-O-P. So there's a couple of them there. I think those are the only ones you can see. Usually you need a microscope to see them because they're so tiny, but those ones are a little farther along in life, so we can see them without the microscope. Moving on to this aquarium, this is going to be our staghorn coral clippings. So these are actually just the tips of that colony there in the back. We'll just cut them off and put them in here. So these guys are just little babies, and eventually in like 2 or 3 years they're going to turn into their own colony and look exactly like that. And you'll notice that in the back over there, the tips of the coral is white. A lot of people think that's coral bleaching, but in the case of staghorn coral, they actually grow their bone structure before they grow their soft tissue. So that white that you're seeing is actually going to be its skeleton. In the large aquarium here, apologies, the lights turn off at 5 or 4 o'clock, so you can't see very well.
Okay.
But this is going to be our pillar coral, and if you look right here at the infographic on the window, you can see what pillar coral looks like. 144 years old, it's 6 feet tall. So these guys grow very, very slowly, and they are a little bit of a sob story. So these guys are functionally extinct here in South Florida, which means there's only about 5 colonies of these guys left, and they can no longer breed with each other. And no longer being able to breed with each other means that they're eventually going to die out. And they're also suffering from what's called stony coral tissue loss disease, which is a mouthful, I know.
Whoa.
So until we can figure out how to get these guys to breed and how to come over that disease, they can't be put back out in the wild because they're simply going to die out there. So we're essentially just babysitting these guys until we can start putting them back out.
Well, are you? Well,
Continue. You
That's
had a
all?
question? Yeah, for those guys. Our last thing is going to be over here, which is going to be our Medusa jellyfish. And you can see a couple different stages of their life. In this aquarium right here, this is going to be the youngest ones that we have. These guys are about 1 to 3 weeks old. And I'm not sure if you can see it from there, but you see that really, really little guy right there?
yeah, I can see.
So that's actually the first stage, known as
Wow.
Ephyra.
So he's just been born.
Yeah, like last week.
Whoa.
So these guys are 1 to 3 weeks old, and then these guys are a couple of months old, and then these ones up top are going to be about 8 to 10 months old.
Whoa. So
And
it
if
takes
you-
a while.
Yeah, it takes a while for them to get up there. But if you look closely at all of them, you can see a little orange pocket kind of in the middle of the body. So like that little pocket of stuff,
Like a dot.
that's actually its stomach and where it's digesting its food.
Oh.
And Medusa jellyfish are very easily recognizable because they have those 4 clovers at the top of their head, kind of. It's a
Wow.
really easy way to tell them apart from other jellyfish.
Wow.
And that's the full tour.
Thank you.
Of course.